Hi, guys. Welcome to the Love of God podcast. My name is Dorinda, and you're so welcome in this place. This podcast is going to be mainly about my journey with God and how He transformed my life. And also, we're going to be talking about different aspects of Christianity and also hear my personal stories with other people's personal stories and how they encountered Christ in their own way. So let's get into it. We don't want to make this intro too long because I have tried to record it a couple of times and I have failed. So we're going to start with the objective for today's episode. So in this episode, we're going to be diving into my personal journey from being born a Christian and losing my faith and turning to astrology, finding my faith again, and trusting God to lift me up. So that's why this podcast is going to be called the Prodigal Daughter. So if you guys don't know, this is kind of like picking up from the story of the prodigal son. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. English is not my first language, guys. You're going to have to understand that now. But I not recently because I've always known about this story, but I never really sat down and read the verses for myself. I don't want to read the whole story for you guys, so I kind of made like a summary for you guys, and I have this written down on my phone. So the reason why I went with this story is because it reminds me so much of myself. Like, I was born into a Christian life and I walked away from it due to just being trying to be accepted in the world and just losing my faith in God. And then the world whooped my bum and I went right back to God and said, God, please, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to be silly. You understand? And it's okay. It's okay to lose your way and find your way as long as you repent and you've learnt your lesson, you know? So this story is found in Luke chapter 15, verse 11 to 31. So if you have a Bible with you, you can actually skim through it before you carry on with this podcast. But I'm just going to give you a very short story. Although Jesus spoke about other examples about losing something and then finding it. So, but the prodigal son kind of stood out for me because it's deep. It's very deep. So I'm going to give you guys a trigger warning right now because my story gets a bit graphic. You know, I spent a good hour trying to write down bullet points and make sure I don't miss out on anything that you guys need to know. It's going to be even hard for me to talk about these things. But I hope and I pray that I'm able to do this without chickening out. Because I'm not the type of person to put my personal business out there. It's never really been my thing. I've always been very kept to myself, should I say. So let's just get into the story about the parable of the prodigal son, which was told by Jesus. The story is about a father who had two sons. The younger son asked his father for his share of the inheritance, and the father said, "Yeah, go ahead, collect it." He split his inheritance in two, gave one to the older son and gave the other to the younger son. The younger son, became proud and happy. He packed up his things and he decided to leave his father's house, which was not a great idea. And so he went ahead and he squandered all of his money, enjoying the high life, extravaganza, you understand? So he squandered all his money and he became destitute, and he literally had no money left. He was so poor that he was working for a farmer, should I say, and he was feeding the pigs, and this guy was so close to eating the pigs' food. He was like, bro, my dad's house has so much to eat that even the servants had something to eat. Why am I here? Why am I putting myself through this? So he decided to run back to his dad, and he said to his dad, "Hey, listen, please, I will even be your servant. I just want to eat. I'm hungry, And he was expecting his dad to be, reluctant and turn away from him and all of this good stuff. But his dad wasn't like that. His dad was so happy to have him back and was even rejoicing. He brought the fattest cow, brought him the nicest clothes, gave him everything that he walked away from and just let him know that, hey, I'm so happy that you're back, Although his brother was not happy about this information, his dad explained to him that, look, my son was basically dead and now he's back, and this is cause for celebration. God values those who come back to him, and he also makes it very important for us to recognize that we are his. He wants us to know that we belong to him, and us coming back to him is always going to be a positive thing. So no matter how far out you go, no matter how many bad things you do, God will always welcome you with open arms. And I felt so touched by that story, because I felt like that was a bit of me, that was a bit of me. I literally knew God. I loved God from young. You understand? Like, I was that kid, but we're going to go into all of that later. But it really touched me in a sense where I was like, yeah, this is so me, and I'm so grateful to even be in his presence again and be accepted by him again. And it sounds so like fairy tale, la-di-da-di-da, but truly I'm so glad that he accepted me back and changed my life in the process. And I can't even explain it. So that's the story about the prodigal son. Like I said, Jesus gave multiple examples about losing something and finding it. Example being the 99 sheep story. So it was basically, in short form, he was basically saying, if you had 99 sheep and you lost one, wouldn't you go back and get that one sheep back so that you can have them all together? And when you do get that sheep, are you not going to be happy? Are you not going to rejoice? Are you not going to be glad? It's a good thing to come back to God. It's a good thing, truly. So let's get into my story. This is going to be tough because, like I said, I've never been the type of person to put my absolute intricate business out there, but God truly dropped this information on my lap and told me, this is what I want you to talk about. It was just, I can't really describe it. It was loud. And even the story about the prodigal son was not something that I was thinking about for days. It literally came to me today. I've been planning this podcast for a while now, and my first official episode was not going to be anything to do with myself. I wanted to talk about some other things, but God just said, nope, this is what you're going to talk about today. And I said, okay, I'm going to listen. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So that's where we're at. So let's start with the fact that I was born into a Christian household. This is very standard for any African child. I was born into a Christian household. My family was very, my mom was a Christian. I remember her always singing at home, and she was a gospel singer. I remember her always bragging about the fact that she used to be in a choir. And I was very young, and I remember a lot of the songs my mom used to sing. And even sometimes when I sing gospel, I'm like, how do I know these lyrics? Because when I started going to church for myself, that I can remember, a lot of the songs that they were singing at church, I couldn't recognize, and but music stuck to me when it came to like singing gospel and singing for God. It just always stuck to me. As I got older, although I was exposed to a lot of things that I shouldn't have seen growing up, I still had faith in God. Like, I always loved God. he's always been my guy. Like, I always felt like I had to prove myself to him and let him know how much I love him, and either by singing or introducing someone to church. And I'm talking about like 14, 15, around this time. I was always one of those kids that you don't have to beg me to go to church. I will go to church by myself. Even if my mom was working, even if she was busy, I would go to church myself. And that was a very interesting thing for a 15-year-old, because I wasn't doing what normal 15-year-olds were doing, which is very interesting. So I would encounter a very trying time at the age of 15. So I was going to this church. I believe it's a Redeemed church. Please, I don't have anything against Redeems, but I'm just giving you guys a context. But I was going to a Redeemed church. Bear in mind, it was very small church. I would say roughly about 20 people altogether. And there I would encounter my first church heartbreak. A lot of people would tell you, oh, I left church because my heart was broken. This person did this to me, this. But I felt like my situation was a bit different, because I really loved God, bro. Like, I was really trying to be that girl fit. Like, that's my guy. You understand? That's my body. And it took a couple of situations for me to just be like, okay, bye. But the first encounter was the fact that I was in a church and I was a choir leader. I was the first person to open the church, set up the chairs, get everything ready. I remember I celebrated my 15th birthday at that church. And a few weeks later, I came to church, did my usual, set up everything, get ready to do my singing. And please bear in mind, every time I sang, it was amazing. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I could see how people gravitated towards my singing, and it was such a beautiful moment for me. I was so happy. I felt like I was doing what God wanted me to do, and I was just so happy, And then one day, my pastor, I guess she didn't like what I was wearing. Yes, so she didn't like what I was wearing. Bearing in mind, like I said, I'm 15. Like, my mind was not thinking about that. I was wearing a black dress. I was wearing tights. The dress was just a little bit over the knee, but it wasn't that bad that it was like doing mini skirts. It was like how do I explain it? Like a skater dress, but just a little bit over the knee. But I still wore tights. It was summertime. But I guess she didn't like it. So instead of her to, pull me to the side and speak to me about it, she decided not to do that. She decided to drag me in front of the church and put me on the altar and made an example out of me, should I say, and told everyone, you see her, see what she's wearing? This is what we're not going to do. I feel like I blacked out in that moment. Like, I blacked out of embarrassment, because I couldn't believe what was happening. I was so shocked, especially because none of my family members were there. And normally I dress modest to church. Like, I knew that was a thing, which was why I wore tights, and I wanted to kind of like make sure I don't, get into trouble. And I've never been pulled aside before to talk about anything like that. But that day, I guess she wasn't feeling it. So that happened. It was very embarrassing. I came home. I told my mom about it. She was upset. She was like, you're not going back to that church, blah, 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 blah. And I said, me too. I ain't trying to go there no more, because I really did a lot for the church in that time. And I was trying my best. And I was doing what a lot of 15-year-olds my age, like, they weren't doing, So cool. The next thing was I had to find a new church, because like I said, I love God. I really wanted to still be a part of God, but I knew something about me had kind of like shifted in a certain way, because I felt like, okay, these people at the top, these pastors and these preachers, clearly they don't have it all figured out, because no normal person would do something like that to a kid, like you're breaking their spirit, like you're basically turning them into it's like turning someone into a criminal before they even like commit the crime. And that was what broke my heart, to be exact, because I really did not know it was going to be such a big deal, to a point where you had to call me out in front of everybody to the altar. I blacked out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I couldn't even remember what she was saying. I just remember her telling me, or telling everyone, pointing at me, pointing at my clothes, pointing at what I was wearing, and telling them, girl, that was crazy. Anyway, so that happened, and I decided to start this new church. It was right opposite the church I was going to. Funny enough, I thought I was giving them a big, FU type of situation. But it was interesting, because when I went to that church, because it had a lot more members and it was a lot more established, they had the youth section, they have the adult section, they have the kids section. So obviously I was around the youth section around that time. It was just I think I was about 16, 17, probably 17, because I was about to start college. And I started to question the teachers, or the pastors, should I say. That's why I said, like, I feel like something changed about me. Like I wasn't feeling it, man. Like, I was just trying to figure out, who are these people to talk about God? Like, I know him. I know this guy you lot are talking about, and these things that you guys are saying, I need you to back it up. I need to know who you are before I can even trust whatever's coming out of your mouth. So that just put a stain of doubt in my heart for some time. And so, to a point where I used to embarrass the church pastor at the time. Like, I would literally put my hand up to ask questions. I wouldn't come to church as regularly anymore. And it was just something was just not connecting, That's when I feel like I started pulling away to a certain extent. I started making new friends. I started college, and I saw how other kids were moving, so I was like, I'm gonna move like them, But that was not what broke the camel's back for me. It was when I went to church one day, and I overheard some people talking about my mom at church, saying, oh, she doesn't come to church with her. She's always working on Sundays. Like, I would even have elders pull me over and be like, oh, tell your mom to come to church this week. It's very important. Work is not everything, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm like, tell that to my landlord, babe. Like, my mom is a single mom. She's working her bum off. She's doing the best she can do. Like, I never used to fault my mom for not coming to church with me like that. And also, I knew that my mom was a very spiritual person. My mom has been through everything with me when it comes to, like, raising me. So I was like, I ain't gonna fault her, like, leave her alone type of thing. That really upset me. And as a young kid, like, don't talk about my mom. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna run. So I also tried to join the choir multiple times, and they always used to give me excuses and telling me I need to be a church member for a bit longer and I'm too young. There was always something, So I was just like, you know what? Never mind. So I was around 17, 18. I got a boyfriend, my first ever boyfriend, like proper boyfriend. Like, I could say, like, that was my first gang. We all have little crushes, little fake relationship that we think we have, but it's not really a big deal. But I feel like around 17, 18, that's when you really know how much you like the person. So I always see that guy as my first ever boyfriend. And word went around in church, and I knew who told everyone. I knew the person that told, but that's a story for another day. But word went around to the adults, and they told the person, like, they told her, like, hey, she's got a boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. But they made it look like they were trying to talk to all the girls. They weren't just trying to talk to me, which was very weird, because I was just like, why is everyone here? Not everyone has a boyfriend. But the lady, the pastor's wife anyway, she started talking, trying to give us advice about boyfriends. And she even said, like, who here has a boyfriend? Me, I didn't lie. I put my hand up. I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna lie. I put my hand up. I was like, yeah, I have a boyfriend. And they were like, oh, are you doing anything? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, you haven't just yet. That was a lie though, because I lost my virginity at 16. So that was something that wasn't gonna like shock me in terms of if I was to start having sexual encounters with my boyfriend, my new boyfriend at 18. So, oh my God, I'm so sharing today. Oh, child, you guys are gonna sip some tea, honey. Get yourself a glass, because this episode is gonna be a very long one. But I just want to let you guys know I'm a complete open book, and I just want to share for whoever is out there that is questioning their relationship with God and wanting to find their way back. I've always been the black sheep of my family. I never used to take permission anyway. Like, if I'm following God, no one has to tell me anything. If I'm following the world, no one can tell me anything. Like, it's kind of like a manic moment. But yeah, so she was trying to figure out, or trying to advise us to not, engage in sexual stuff and listen to God and this. And I remember like asking her, like, oh, well, how do you know? Like, because I like this person so much, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, look, I've been where you are, and I can tell you it's not worth it. And I remember that statement so well, because I was like, you've been where I am, what have you been doing? That was what I was thinking as a child at the time. But now that I remember it, I should have listened. I really should have listened. She was also an open book. I'm not gonna lie, she wasn't like rude or upset or anything like that. She was genuinely just trying to advise us. I remember she even took us to her house one time and tried to talk to us and tell us about her story and what she's been through. And I really appreciate that lady. She was a very nice lady. But I wouldn't say that pushed me away from church, but I felt like I was already gone before. I wish I had gone to that church before I went to the one that put me up on the altar and everything. They had a way of doing things. They had a very civilized way of doing things, but I was just already kind of in my rebellious era. Okay. So not long after leaving church, I started doing my own thing. At 19, me and my boyfriend broke up, which made me feel like, wow, this lady was right. And it hurt me, because I really thought that, listen, bro, I couldn't believe I was thinking about marriage at 19. That's wild. But I really thought he was the one. And I'm the type of person, like, if I love you, I love you like so deep. It's scary. And if I stop loving you, you would do anything on this God's green earth to get that love back. And even I can't get it back for you. It's literally impossible. Although he tried for us to get back together again, and I was like, you've already broken my heart. There's nothing I can do. It's above me now. It's really above me. So we broke up around 19. My 20th birthday was so wild. I blew out all my universal, it wasn't even universal them times, my student loan. I spent all my student loan on my 20th birthday. It was a big bash. I'm not going to sit here and say listen, I don't regret it. That 20th birthday till this day is going to be one to remember. Just for my memory's sake. Just to say that I did it, you understand? But It was very reckless, guys. I had moved to London. I was going to Greenwich University. I didn't last long. I dropped out not long after. Um, and I feel like that was when things started to kind of get negative, like really, really bad. So after I dropped out of uni, I started to involve myself with a lot of, should I say F boys? And you can fill in the F for whatever you think I'm talking about. There's different type of Fs in the world. So I'm going to say F boys. And they influenced me in a very negative way. And although I had a boyfriend who was also a mess, like, I bear in mind, I'm gonna put this out there. I used to be one of those girls that's always been in a relationship. I'm a relationship girl. I used to be very proud of it. Actually, I'm not proud of it now anymore because it's taught me too much information I didn't even want to know, But I always had a boyfriend on rotation. Do you understand? Like, if one goes, another one is going to come. It's like they're always waiting in line. It was so bad. So we started going out a lot, started drinking a lot, clubbing. Can you come? Which club did we not go? Which place we did not pull up? You understand? Like, whole time my mom thought I was still in school. It took me a whole year to tell my mom the truth. Like, I told my mom after she had left that I had dropped out of school. Like, she left for Nigeria. She retired and she went back home. And I was just acting like I was still in college and in uni, but I wasn't. I was capping. And when my mom found out, she was so upset. She was so upset. I actually told my brother first, and then he told my mom because they're way closer than I am with her. So that news, at least she wasn't there to give me the silent treatment and fight me and all of these things. But all they wanted to do was get me back in school. They didn't care if I quit or drop out, whatever. They wanted me to go back because they wanted me to get a degree so badly. But I was at a very turning point in my life. I didn't know what I wanted, guys. Like, when I think about it now, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I thought I knew, but I did not. And I really urge parents to not push their kids to go straight into university, straight out of college, because give them a little time, give them a year, get them into activities that could encourage different skills and take them to your workplace or take them to a workplace that they would like to experience one day, and just give them a tour before they can actually make a decision and be like, oh, this is what I want to do, and they can work towards that goal. But because I didn't have anything set in mind, I just loved media. I did creative media in college and I did it so well. And I'm one of those people, like, if I do so well, that's what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep doing that particular thing. But media was not an option for my mom at the time. And although I tried to do film and television, it didn't work out because I just didn't enjoy the modules. A lot of the things that they were teaching us I already knew from college, and it was easy to just walk away from that situation. And I just didn't see myself becoming a movie producer. I wish I stayed, because I feel like whatever I learned there would have helped me make, like, I would have been a Nollywood producer one day, you never know. But I don't think I had enough passion for it. So I guess that's why we're here, So let's move on. So now, after I dropped out, got a new boyfriend, drinking, clubbing, enjoyment. It was a bit of a mad thing. I think around 22 or 23, this new boyfriend of mine, we broke up. Bear in mind, we had a couple of breakups. Like, it was one of those on and off relationships, because he was always cheating on me, and because I never had proof, he would always gaslight me, and it was a hot spanking mess, guys. Like, that relationship was a mess. So this, oh my God. So this is moving to